Ladies and gentlemen, hello, and welcome back to the MLG Winter Exhibition. Of course, single elimination, 16-player bracket involving the losers of the first round of the Winter Championship event that happened not too long ago. Of course, my name is axeltoss, joined by axslav. We're watching Suppy versus Bly, best of 5. They're tied 1-1. Let's go ahead and get into game 3, if you don't mind.
I do not mind. Let's just do it. Map is going to be Cloud Kingdom, of course. Bly took down that first game with greater muted production and, of course, usage there just by a slight margin. Suppy with a great defense of the early spawning pool from Bly in game number 2 ties up the series. Who's going to take the next leap ahead on Cloud Kingdom?
This is an important one. Again, the winner of this is 1 win away from advancing to the next round. The loser of this is 1 loss away from being eliminated from the tournament. Here we are. The map is Cloud Kingdom. In the top right-hand location, we have the red Zerg player on team Evil Geniuses. He led his CSL team, UC Berkeley, to a world championship not too long ago. Going to try to continue his success from Wings Liberty in Heart of the Swarm. He is Suppy. And his opponent in the bottom left-hand location, known for his electric, exciting play style. Able to take down Mana in the Winter Season Showdowns. Lost to Bly in the Winter Championship, lost to Flash in the Winter Championship event. But I hesitate to use the word lost because it was quite an entertaining series that you should check out. He's the Blue Zerg player representing Team Acer. He is Bly. I need to ask him about his name one of these days, because I'm trying to think of what Bly would mean. Searching my brain, but I'm coming up empty.
Well, you know, if you take a player's skill and divide it by the number of letters in their name, Bly's got to be a very powerful, you know, skill per letter name. It's got to be something like that. Anyways,
it's one way to
Suppy this time mixing up his builds, going for Hatchery first. And Bly's actually the one who got the spawning pool. So Suppy with a faster Hatchery, which is going to mean his gas is just ever so slightly faster than Bly's. But otherwise, it's going to actually be pretty much identical as they progress in builds. Of course, Bly with the faster first queen. Suppy's second queen will be slightly faster. And, of course, with a little bit of extra larva from the hatchery. So very, very even opening, similar to what we saw in game number 1.
Yeah, of course. You know, we talked about how important this game is. So, like, when you're talking about, all right, what strategies are these guys going to go for? I mean, we saw Bly go for the early pull in the last game. And that ultimately led to his downfall, to be completely honest, of course. Everything in the game of StarCraft 2 can be based on, you know, what happens earlier in the game. I hope that's fairly obvious. But, you know, Bly going for the early pool, going for the early links, that represents a lot of investment into the early game that didn't quite pay off, which means his opponent is going to have a superior economy going into the mid game, which means his opponent's able to take advantage of that and potentially take a pretty big lead, which is what happened. So Bly this game not going for that earlier pool, and we're going to see standard openings from both of these guys. Now, the question I have on my mind is, are we going to see Muta versus Muta again? Are we going to see any form of Baneling, Zergling stuff in the beginning? Are we going to see the rumored to exist Roach in this series?
Roaches have become slightly endangered in ZVZ as of late with the, you know, basically the increased speed and regeneration capabilities of the Mutas combined with the ability to basically outmaneuver infestors with their fungal growth now being a projectile. Some players I've seen still try to play infestors. It's very difficult, but I've seen it pulled off before. Will one of these players opt for that, or are they just going to continue with the Mutas trend that we've been seeing lately?
Now, for those wondering at home, if you're newer to Heart of the Swarm, of course, it's a relatively new game. We might have some newer viewers. To those viewers, hello. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. I hope you join us in the future. Of course, we're live every day at 5 p.m. Eastern with some awesome StarCraft 2 matches. But yeah, to get to my point, Muta's, the reason they're becoming pretty dominant in ZVZ is because the Infestor in Heart of the Swarm was nerfed. It was nerfed a little bit. It's a projectile now, the fungal growth. And of course, Mutas were buffed a little bit. They've got a speed increase, and they have the ability to regenerate health outside of combat. All that added up together, it's very hard to deal with those Mutas with Infestors. So that's why, again, it's a little bit rare to see the Roach.
Oh, Suppy might take some damage here. One drone
right.
falls down, trying to micro the
He's
rest
got 4
away.
Banelings. Here they come.
Banelings coming just in time. There was a little bit scary for Suppy, but Bly has Banelings of his own.
I think Suppy should be fine. He's got 1 Baneling remaining. Bly needs to peel a Ling away to deal with that, but Suppy's going to have Ling reinforcements in. Keep in mind, both these guys, they're not trying to kill each other right now. Like, we got layers in production, layers finishing up, and Spires are going to start fairly soon.
Bly was able to force Suppy to pull all of his drones out of his natural during that engagement, and that meant that he lost a decent amount of mine time, some gas mining, as well as mineral income. So that's looking really, really good for Bly. In fact, he has a significant drone advantage going forward as he got a couple of kills as well. So Suppy's going to look to put on a counterattack. Speeding's coming in here now. No Banelings yet completed for Bly. The first one.
He canceled.
Was about 99% done when before Suppy was able to get it.
This is a little scary, but Bly, he's not going to die. Doesn't want to lose any queens. The Baneling's going to get targeted down before they can finish up another Baneling.
Transfuse, not enough energy. 48 energy when the queen dies. The other queen's under fire.
Here comes some Lings from Bly, though. He wants to help preserve that queen's life, and that queen will stay alive for now. And that wasn't a 3rd queen, so Bly only had 2 queens there. Lost one of them, which means one of his hatcheries is going to be very sad because he's not going to have...
Bly with the massive counterattack stream. Suppy, no Banelings to defend, bringing down his 2nd queen to the low ground. A very intelligent move to help defend her. They've got to block that ramp to make sure the Speedlings can't run by. Now Suppy has plenty of his own Speedlings to help cover that ramp as well. Bly's forced backwards. Bly with a little bit of a mineral advantage, able to throw down that 3rd hatchery. Suppy with a slightly faster Spire. This is turning out to be a really interesting game. Suppy was able to pretty much even out the drone count. Still behind by a few, but again, going for that very fast armor upgrade, now countering it at the 3rd base.
Yeah, starting it right away, even before his first Mutas. So definitely wants to have Mutas for a large portion of this game. But Bly's going to be the first one to start those Mutas. 8 in production. Suppy has 2 in production. I think it's not supply block. It's not out of gas.
Mineral.
Okay, there we go.
Short on minerals.
Short on minerals. There we go. But, you know, the important thing here is Bly's hatchery is already about 70% of the way done. Needs to make sure not to have to cancel it to about 7 Lings here. Meanwhile, his opponent's hatchery is only about 20% of the way done, and that's pretty important. And we see how important it is because Bly starting those gases right away. He's going to want to saturate those immediately so we can get 6 gases up and running. More gas, more Mutas at this stage of ZVZ.
Suppy's going for one of Bly's overlords over by his 3rd base. Bly, meanwhile, his Mutas are crossing the map. He has a superior account. Suppy's overlords are in retreat. Can Suppy defend him? We're seeing him take substantial losses. Remember, each one of these overlords has to be replaced, and that's 100 minerals, which is a substantial investment. Bly's also swinging around on the left side, trying to counter the 3rd base. Banelings take out all of his countering Zerglings, and he's back on the retreat.
I will take your word for that. I was watching Mutas take out an Overlord, and of course, you know, it's a very precarious situation because we saw Suppy get some Mutas out on the field, and you're like, okay, why didn't he attack with those? Well, Bly still had a lot more Mutas than his opponent. You have to make sure your Mutas are together and not just like reinforcing in one at a time, because then they're going to start getting isolated and taken out by your opponent. So Bly's goal right here, take out this 3rd base, don't want too many casualties. Suppy feeling relatively confident, going to shoot those units away, and Bly's going to have to back up. But he's already saturated his 3rd base. He's got 3 drones in each of those gases, and that's going to start adding up. And that's going to mean, oh my god, we see corruption happening, by the way.
Suppy really likes that move, and it is useful to give himself that upgrade advantage. The question is that going to be enough? Because Bly, you know, Bly has more Mutas. He's got more gas income with having those 6 gases. Suppy's going to equalize that income very shortly, but he's been behind for a decent amount of time, and that's going to give Bly an advantage in production. Can Suppy get anything done, you know, in the next basically 40 to 50 seconds while he has that upgrade advantage?
115, 116 supply to 94 in favor of Bly at this point in time. Units tab is 16 to 18 in favor of Bly.
Suppy doesn't want to engage. He's got the upgrade advantage, but Bly just has too many Mutas. Suppy on the retreat. One Mutas almost going down. Bly striking to 3rd base. Suppy.
He's not stopping.
There's not
a lot of Lings underneath as well, so there's not going to be a lot to absorb those additional attacks from Bly's Mutas. And Bly still has that supply lead, 16 to 10, 14 to 10 in the Muta count. And I think Bly should be just fine. Of course, big Baneling hit there. But, you know, Bly's just going to have too much. The Ling streaming in here as well, and that might be the nail in the coffin in favor of Bly here.
Bly's so good at these Muta versus Muta mirrors. Every single time Game 1 and Game 3 they get into it, he just always ends up with a higher Mutas count. Suppy's 3rd is going to go down. And that's going to basically leave him in a position where he can't really recover from. Queen here coming out, but that's going to quickly go down to the Speedlings and Mutas. Rallied Mulus dying as they pop out of their eggs.
Yep.
Bly with an overwhelming advantage pushing towards the natural. Suppy retreating back to his spine core. A single Mulus in the air for him, while Bly has many, and that's going to spell GG.
Wow. Great game there from Bly. Of course, you know, the most important part of that match being the timing of that third base. I mean, we saw it right there. Bly able to hold that third base, able to protect it, able to get those gases saturated as much as possible, and then focusing all of his attention on denying his opponent's third base. And then once you're able to do that, there's really nothing that can be done. I mean, it's 3 bases, 6 gases to 2 bases, 4 gases.
Just more
It's
Mulus
math.
beats less Mulus. Same as
Simple
we
math.
saw in game number 1. Bly seems to really be confident that Mulus Mir. Suppy's going to have to change something, because so far, every time he's gone head-to-head with Bly, he's lost in that air battle. He just hasn't been able to keep up in production. A lot of it's the mining the gas from the third base that's really putting him behind.
Yeah, a lot of little things can happen too, where if you get supply blocked once, it's going to be devastating. I mean, maybe all the overloads dying a little bit earlier had something to do with it. So, you know, just things we have to keep an eye on as we go into Game 4. Of course, Bly is currently up 2-1, which means he's 1 win away from advancing to the next round of our consolation bracket. Of course, Suppy must win 2 games in a row. Guys, I'm axeltoss, joined by axslav. Game 4 of Bly versus Suppy coming up.